Hello and welcome, all you survivor warriors and miracles out there, and all of you allies. I am really happy to be here today for another video. I know it has been a little bit of a wait. I had to take some time for some healing, but I am doing much better, and I just wanted to thank all of you for sticking around with me with the channel, which is very new, and welcome to all of the new subscribers out there. So today the main focus of my video is to kind of go with an overview of what I consider are three steps to success for healing, as in maybe the three things that I feel like have been the most key skills to practice essentially throughout healing, basically to create some form of grounding and manageability in my life. So one of them you all are going to be very familiar with, which is journaling. Journaling is number one always, and is something that was very important in my life thanks to the work of Kathy O'Brien. So it really, I'm going to go with the science-based approach for all of those logic and, kind of computer parts that are out there basically that don't want to participate in this healing work typically. From a science perspective, when we are journaling, we're going to be picking up a pen or pencil, whatever it is. It's something physical, I recommend, and we're going to be essentially just putting on paper whatever it is that's coming to mind. Now, the important thing about this is that it is just literally, by doing that, it's going to be shifting the information you're struggling with from the emotional part of your brain to the logical part of your brain that is going to be working your hand and the pen to get it on paper. And what that's going to do is it's immediately going to create some perspective, clarity, and relief, when it comes to the issues you're dealing with internally in the system, and what parts it is you're having difficulty with. So I've already gone over that one a bunch. I'm just briefly going to go over some materials that I recommend for journaling. It's always going to be writing based, I say initially, but if you want to follow that up with other things, that's great. So here you see behind me, I have lots of pens of many colors. I recommend that, especially for little parts, that helps them get engaged into the journaling process basically, and doodling and whatever it is you need to do to get whatever is in your head out. And then, a journal, essentially. I got one here. That is something that you have to, just come back to, or multiple if you want, for multiple different parts, all options that we can have. So like I said, a possibility is always to follow that up with additional stuff like painting of any kind, maybe collaging, or anything, maybe something three-dimensional, anything that's like typically going to be physical. I tend to stay away from screen related stuff, typing or digital art when it comes to this, just because if you're dissociative, you're probably going to have issues with trance, and the blue light thing is not the best, when we're trying to be very present with what we're dealing with. So doing something in reality, whatever art form that is, to also help, the littles, the internal parts get out what they need, especially when dealing with flashbacks, is phenomenal and always great, I say, as like an addition to the writing portion of journaling. So number two is the videos I'm recently posting on my video channel, which is all about the practice of meditation. So with the practice of meditation, I'll go over the materials first that you're going to need. The basics that you're going to need is literally nothing. You're going to need just your nose and mouth, if you can't breathe out of your nose, and your breath, which you're going to have if you're alive on this earth. Because really what we're focusing on with meditation is learning a few different skills that are going to help us throughout our healing and creating a lot of grounding and clarity in the internal investigation that we're going to be doing throughout the healing. So what I sorry, I'm trying to refer to my notes today. So what I recommend essentially for meditation is that what we're really focusing on is training all of the parts, especially our kid parts, in creating some clarity and focus, especially when we're having emotional upset, and big feelings in the system, to create some acknowledgement of the feelings we're feeling or the thoughts that are occurring, especially if they're destructive or intrusive ones, without necessarily attaching to them. And in doing so, what we're going to be doing is validating what the part is experiencing, but maybe creating a little bit of distance to where we can go from a very emotional state to a more grounded one, so that we can do the journaling, do our more healing practices, even if that is just like distracting ourselves with something fun, relaxing, to get out of a flashback time. So really it's going to be working on the skills of focus and focusing on what, noticing our thoughts without attaching to them. I'm going to have plenty of videos explaining this more. And what that's going to do is that's going to help to ground us and essentially pull any and all parts involved out of a flashback, out of a time of upset, into the present and into a place of a little bit more emotional stability, so that we can start acknowledging what's going on in our body or our brain, our emotions, etc., and start essentially coming to a place of grounding. What I always use as an analogy for meditation is that we're trying to treat thoughts, no matter what they are, as waves on an ocean that we're learning to notice that they arise, have a definite, you can say this is a wave, basically. They have a definite identity, and then it dissipates back into the ocean, very much like our thoughts on consciousness. And when we're dealing with really big and overwhelming thoughts, essentially it's almost like catching that wave and then just adding more and more momentum to it until it becomes a tsunami, and we're in a place of complete overwhelm and can't really function, we're dealing with a full-on panic attack or flashback. So meditation is a great skill that you can practice throughout your daily life, just to bring yourself back to a place of grounding. But then also when you're dealing with like big things, times of crisis in the system, is a wonderful tool that you can then also have, that will become very natural to you, to pull up and bring yourself from a place of intensity to a place of workability, at least, with what's going on. Okay, so last but definitely not least is going to be venting. Let me backtrack real quick. Sorry, so the other two materials I do recommend you possibly getting to practice the meditation stuff is what I use is like a mala. So if you need a physical aid to help ground you in the present, I'll go over all of that in the actual meditation series. You can use literally just like any beaded necklace, a prayer mala is great, a rosary is great, my son's teething beads is something I've used once, just something to literally, like, as we're going to work on focusing on the breath, it's something to essentially ground you in the present and have like a physical action to bring you back to your body, back to the present, out of, the past and that dissociative state that you're in, basically. And in addition to this, like maybe coming up with a mantra, something very short and meaningful for you, great as a journaling exercise. Great ones I recommend are like let go and let God, or ja or ya, whichever you prefer, or you can do, I do Om Mani Padme Hum also, which is the mantra of compassion, and it's just something short to say with the breath. So a couple little extra materials that you can gather up to get ready for the meditation series if it's something you think will be helpful. All right, last but not least, venting. I'm not going to go over that a whole lot now because really focusing on the grounding stuff and the venting is something that I will go in much more as I get into the series about dealing with, back into the main series, dealing with dissociative parts, understanding them and communicating with them, because I'm going to be starting with our perpetrator, persecutor parts, interjects, etc., usually the ones that have a lot of internalized rage. Now, we're going to need to learn what to do with all of this intensity, emotion, and rage. That is going to be where venting comes in, and that's going to be either to have some form of physical exercise, something that you can safely break, you know, like sticks outside, you know, like anything that's safe, you know, for you to like have a little destruction on, you know, make some mud pies. Maybe I'll come up with some more things when I do the actual venting video. Or having a punching bag is awesome to get some physical stuff out, and the punching bag and bat combo has always been since I've learned venting from one of the main therapists I learned it from, you know, always been his like star combo, which I highly recommend. Or even if you need to feel a little bit more contained or safe initially with trying to get some of this intensity out, just even having like a nice big pillow that you can scream into, that you can, you know, punch, that you can, you know, get a little bit of energy out, because that's mainly what venting is about, is that as we have these overwhelming emotions come up, we're going to be dealing with it with going to be dealing with it with journaling. We're going to be dealing with it with the meditation and those exercises to calm ourselves. But ultimately, we're not going to get this, you know, healing completed, this energy completely moved, unless we learn how to express and get out our anger in a healthy way as well, because there are many, many parts in there that have a lot of that's either been directed inward or outward, you know, weaponized by our abusers in very unhealthy ways.